Sometimes life makes the decision for you. A move, a job ending, kids growing up, and suddenly you're forced to ask, what's next?
That was Joe and Jennifer Worrel, a corporate relocation, a retired veteran stay-at-home dad in a family that wanted stability, not another reset.
Today, they share how they reassessed their future, chose business ownership on their terms, and built Recoat Revolution in a market they're proud to call home.
They'll also tell you the truth about starting out, a slower ramp up, real costs, and why planning for reality makes all the difference.
If you're navigating change and looking for a smarter path forward, this episode is for you. I'm Sara Waskow. This is my colleague, Roxanne Rapske. We created this podcast to bring you information and education about all things related to business ownership and franchising. Welcome to episode 114 of Unpredicted Entrepreneur, where we welcome Joe and Jennifer Worrel, co-owners of Recoat Revolution of North DFW.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
We are so excited to have you here. And we always kind of like to start with background and your history and kind of how you became unpredicted entrepreneurs. So share a little bit of that and kind of what we touched on a little bit in the intro and kind of what brought y'all to this place.
Thanks for having us. We moved to the DFW area about 3 years ago as a result of a corporate relocation for my position. It was, we had historically moved several times, and it was a great time to move with the age of our kids. So we moved and got settled, and unfortunately, about 6 months after we got our feet under us, the job that I had moved here for ended, and we really committed to not wanting to move our kids again. So that was just a, kind of conversation between us saying, what do we want to do next? And here we are.
Yeah. So Jennifer, you're still in corporate America.
Yes. Yeah.
And helping behind the scenes with Recoat Revolution. Joe, you're the primary kind of hands-on owner, if you will. So tell us a little bit about your story. Retired veteran, had been staying home while Jennifer was doing the corporate gig. Yeah.
Yeah. So I spent about 8 years in the military, and then had several different careers. And as we moved around to different places, I ventured into several different things. And so when we moved to Texas, and then we kind of found out, we're not going anywhere for a long time. We both had the conversation, let's explore some opportunities where we're the boss. And thanks to you, we found Recoat Revolution. And, we're still pretty new, but, moving in the right direction.
Wonderful. So before we move into kind of, the story of how you got to Recoat Revolution, just take a minute to explain to people what it is. What do you do? What does your business do?
Recoat Revolution is a one-day sandless, dustless floor and hard surface restoration company. We also clean hard surfaces. But when we say sandless and dustless, we don't mean less. We mean zero. There's no sanding. There's no dust. We can just about do any type of hard surface floor and bring them back to life. We, as I was saying today, we save floors. That's in today's world where everything is interchangeable and disposable. We want to come in and basically fix what's already there, so you keep it.
Well, for the people that are planet friendly, that's a area for me. That's a big deal. Instead of ripping it all out, throwing it in a landfill where it's going to sit for however many hundreds of years and not break down, you're just refinishing it, and you're saving the homeowners a ton of money as well, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's faster, it's cheaper. And so what's interesting and common for many of our guests is you didn't probably expect to be buying a floor resurfacing business when you started this process. So tell us a little bit about that piece, because when we met, you guys were down another path, or you had been down another path for a business that you thought you were interested in and had fallen through.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, we spent a while looking at another option that, unfortunately, after several months of kind of getting into it, it didn't work out. And we were lucky enough to have a friend at church, Lisa Harrington, who said, "You need to talk to my friend Sara." And, we still weren't really sure if we wanted to jump down that road. And I can remember the first conversation that I had with you. You said, "I'm going to send you some ideas and you're probably going to think they're crazy." and
Very common.
You said, "But do me a favor and give every one of them the same kind of, in-depth look, because I have people all the time, it's successful, that say, I would have never thought I'd ever own a flooring company." That's me.
So I think what was fun about the way that we first got connected was, we reached out to you, through our connection with Lisa. And I really wanted you to validate a decision that we had already made with another brand. Yeah. And, kind of going down that path, and then ultimately that opportunity not working out, you were able to kind of platform some ideas for us that, in hindsight, I'm so glad that first one didn't work out. We just feel a lot more, comfortable and, looking at what's important to us, and now having almost a year under our belt, and how things, kind of get started and ramp up, and how you really have to build your own business. I don't know that we would have been as passionate about that at this point as we are with Recoat Revolution.
Okay, that's really interesting, because y'all had a strong interest from a personal standpoint. You felt like the business was a need in the community. As you pointed out, it kind of it didn't work out. And I do remember when you started with me, you were really disappointed that had fallen through. But like Joe said, okay, I'm going to appease her and I'm going to have these conversations. And so then you started deciding, okay, maybe there are some good things about some of these brands. And so I do remember you kind of specifically telling me, and comparing then what it was about Recoat Revolution that was appealing to you that you actually liked better than the other one. So that's what I'll tell people sometimes. You may think you want this, and maybe when you look at something else, that'll just validate that you are on the right track, or maybe you'll learn something. So I thought that was kind of important to point out, that you guys really then started realizing what it was. So tell me, what was it about Recoat Revolution that kind of stood out to you that made it appealing for you?
The thing that we were kind of really excited about with the first option that we looked at is we wanted to find something that people need. We wanted to provide a service. We didn't want it to be, ice cream or popcorn or cookies or pizza. We wanted it to be something that provided a service that people need, that was useful. And the thing, people walk on their floors every day. They love them. Their dogs, their cats, their kids constantly mess them up. And so, you have to put love back into those. And the idea of saving floors versus replacing them, like you'd said, really, really appealed to us. We thought, and what we do is different than anyone else. So that was another thing that we really liked.
Well, and I think too, kind of our history and our story and getting to this place, we had relocated, which is, why we ended up in Texas. But we had relocated 5 times, and we're currently in our 7th home as a married couple. So having gone through major home renovations, big floor refinishing projects, we understood the expense and we understood the hassle and just all of the ick factor around it's expensive, it's time consuming, your whole entire house is going to be dusty. So understanding that experience personally helped us understand the value proposition of what Recoat Revolution actually can bring to people.
So out of curiosity, you get your initial list of things from Sara. You start having your calls with the franchisors. How long did it take for it to click that, wow, we really do like this? Because flooring, right? You didn't grow up always wanting to own a flooring business. Right. So did that take 2 calls, 3 calls? 4 calls?
So our original opportunity fell through on Wednesday of Thanksgiving weekend. So the day before Thanksgiving, we knew that you know, that opportunity, that brand was not going to be able to work with us. We signed our franchise paperwork with Recoat Revolution in February.
Okay.
So really, you know, maybe 2.5 months. And between those dates, we had a discovery day, a couple calls, you know, several calls with Sara, kind of coaching, think about this. And, you know, I think kind of that pre-work around each of us doing our own assessment and what would be appealing to us and what we wanted, you know, not only what we could invest financially, but what we wanted out of the potential of a brand financially was really important. And we were able to do that in 2.5 months.
And I remember in our conversation, Sara, you were very upfront about this particular business has been around a while. This one's very new. This one's brand new.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, brand new is way different than been around a while. And so,
right.
you know, I felt from your end very informed about it. It didn't, you know, especially after our site visit, it didn't feel like I was surprised by anything. It all kind of fell together the way I had hoped it would.
Well, and Recoat is new. It's newer, and that was not as scary to us as it might be to some people. But we also felt, I think 2.5 months is probably a short timeline for people.
It was fairly quick, right?
Yeah. For us, we were excited about that, and we also really did want to be very early with a franchisor, and that might not be a good fit for everybody. So
very true. So tell me more. Why did you want to be early with a franchisor?
Financially, my background is more corporate, and having that business development, kind of M&A growth, investment background, I felt like the entry cost and the upside was the most in a newer franchise. So that's what it was.
Yeah, and I always feel like if you are, one of the founding members of something, it speaks a lot to watch them grow and to be able to tell those that come after you. I was just talking to someone the other day, and I was talking about how far things have gone since we took that first job, and to be, it's kind of like we're the first explorers of the one-day floor refinishing in Texas, and we were excited about that. I typically always tell people we were the first ones in Texas and the fourth within the company, and so to me that it wasn't important, but it was nice to be that way because we felt really good about the product itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so another thing that I specifically remember was your desire to own a business in your community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You live in South Lake. You really wanted to support South Lake. You have 2 boys that are active in lots of school programs. I know your older plays football. Your younger one is doing all kinds of different things, trying different things. And so a lot of people in the community, and that was important. And one really factor about DFW is that just the prime territories sell out really quickly. So you need to oftentimes be open-minded to being at what we would call an early adapter if you want to have access to maybe some of what would be considered prime or, premier territories. So the investment for this brand was less than the other brand you were looking at. It was brick and mortar. So reality is you might not even be open yet if you had gone that route with real estate and, lease negotiations and all those kinds of things that you have to take in.
Build out.
So I think
right.
Well, with a wood floor refinishing company, that is a home service. Mm-hmm. And personally, I think Joe would agree, but we are in people's homes, and in South Lake we're in our neighbors' homes, and being a home service and not living in the community that you're serving, I think living in one, it just adds to the credibility and the trust factor of allowing people into your personal space to care for their property. So living where we were owning a business was really important to us.
Yep.
So Joe, you this is mainly for you because you're still working W-2, Jennifer, right? So how is your life change? Like, how is your day to day? Like, I feel like just because you weren't on our prep call, but I feel like there's a whole new Joe, right? So tell us a little bit about that transformation.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I forgot what a full-time job was like, but I mean, I know every aspect of the business. I'll drive the van. You might walk into your house and I'll be laying on my stomach, color correcting your floor. And then I'm the guy at the chamber events luckily we have a great guy that works with us, Drake Evans. And he and I kind of tag team a lot of things and we go at it, and it can be long days. It can be into the nights. Some of our jobs went way into the nights because we are so picky. We're in someone's home. When I walk out of there, when we close that door, I want to make sure that if this was my house, what would I expect us to do to my floor? So that's very important, is the quality of what we do for the homeowners, because they're letting us in their home and they're trusting us. I mean, they pretty much have to stay completely away from us because we're working on the floors. So we did a house the other day and the guy stayed upstairs the whole time, and I felt so bad because he couldn't come down, but he knew that I think his girlfriend had to he had to throw down the ropes for some food.
His office was upstairs, so he was working from home.
Yeah.
It's funny. So people are, making sacrifices, obviously, for you to come in and do your work, and you respect that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think so for me, from the perspective of a spouse, right? Joe had done so much over the years supporting my career and career growth, as a corporate leader. Being able to look at him now and see not just the primary day-to-day parent for our kids, but a community business owner has been really cool to see your husband.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional.
That's good. That's okay.
And I did want you to kind of touch on that, because you're out networking now, and not that you didn't network with other parents and stuff because your kids are in sports, but I feel like it really helps you become a part of the community outside of the house and give you more purpose, because once your kids start getting older, then it's like, okay, now what's my next purpose? Where do I find my purpose now?
Yeah, I that being in the military and you have a job that's a purpose. You're there for a reason. It's nice to, not that my kids aren't a reason and taking care of them isn't a reason, but it's when we're tired and we walk out and we close that door, there's a whole lot of pride in that especially right now I'm kind of part of every facet of the business, and eventually someday that's probably not going to be the case, but right now, my world has changed quite a bit. Recoat Revolution has revolutionized my life a lot.
I see a tagline in there somewhere.
Yeah. I also think, being a stay-at-home dad, you were not maybe connected. I mean, there's moms groups and things like that, but I'm sure there were a few dads in there, but probably a little bit of an outsider. It probably could have gotten kind of lonely.
It can be, luckily enough, I always took a part-time job and
you're a musician, so you but that was at night.
Played a gig, yeah. So, and that was I had a great part-time job in Atlanta when we worked out there that allowed me to mingle with other guys and folks and stuff. But now that we own this business, this is we have to succeed at this, and so there's a lot of stuff on my plate that I'm not used to. Before it was just get the kids off to school, make sure they're home at night. And now I still do that. But then I've got go clean someone's floors and refinish them.
Get to the chamber breakfast and do all those things too.
Well, I think what's been interesting about kind of our story is we are relatively new to this area. So we didn't really have to rebrand ourselves personally in the community that we live in. We really haven't. We've lived there almost 3 years now, but fairly short amount of time. People didn't know us as the flooring people or a flooring company. So Joe didn't really have to pivot much from being known as someone else to being known now as Joe from Recoat Revolution. So I think that's kind of unique for us. But if you didn't have, if you had a big kind of network that knew you in one way really well, kind of understanding what it's going to take, especially for a new brand, it takes some time to really develop a local awareness of you as somebody new or your service as something new.
I understand because we own gyms and we were the first in Texas too. And so you have to create that awareness and build that brand. So that's a good segue into really a next question. You're talking about, kind of building a business. You've been in business almost a year. What are some of the lessons learned and what might you want to share as a tip to somebody else that might be listening to this podcast and thinking about going into business and maybe starting a franchise that might not be very well recognized, in their community?
Nothing happens overnight, and nothing happens if you do nothing.
Excellent.
And
Amen.
You can't expect, you can't expect for the bags of money to start showing up until you put the effort into it. And every business takes time, because when I say to you, we are Recoat Revolution of North DFW, you have no idea what we recoat or what's revolutionary. We have to prove that to people. And, you have to be able to put in the work and make the calls and get out there and get into your community. If you're selling widgets or you're selling dreams or vacations or people or getting in people's homes, it all can't happen overnight. And the get rich quick scheme is that if you ask anybody about the American dream, they all have a story. They don't ever start with, I bought it and made $1 million in 15 minutes.
Well, and I think we're getting a lot of calls from, potential franchisees or people interested in the brand. And a lot of the questions are, well, are you profitable? Well, the answer is no. We haven't been open a year. So just the idea that this takes a lot longer than you think, any business, not just this one, but are you profitable? And we've been open 8 months. We're not embarrassed to say no, but the answer is no. And so I think kind of going into any franchise model, understanding profitability, especially depending on how you fund your purchase, that's going to take some time.
Well, you guys self-funded, so at least you're not carrying any debt.
Yeah, we're carrying debt to ourselves.
To yourselves,
we
right.
self-funded.
Yeah, but really good point, because I think if you've never owned a business or started a business or worked in a startup where you could see what it actually took, and you've just been in corporate your whole life, it's a very hard concept to understand that you're going to work really hard for a year and not make any money. The business is bringing money in, but it's not the same as being profitable.
Exactly.
So,
Correct.
So if you're trying to replace a solid 6-figure income, it's not going to happen overnight. And everybody listening to this needs to know that. So
as the tax form showed up the other day for me to mail out, there wasn't one for me. And I'm okay with that. It'll come. It'll happen in time. And you just have to keep your nose to the grindstone and believe in what you're doing first and foremost. And that's feel like you're doing something better.
Well, I think going back to authenticity, like for us, we feel very comfortable representing this brand. We're proud of it. We can talk to it and feel comfortable in the community. I think that would have been difficult had we ended up with the original brand that we were looking for. So a tip to me, I guess, would be pick something that you feel comfortable representing and owning in the market that you want to serve.
And we have a great relationship with Angie and her team and their kids. They're great people. I mean, they really are. That makes a big difference when you get into business with somebody that quality of people. They're
the founder or the franchisor.
Yeah.
I've talking about authenticity. I don't know if you saw the podcast that we did with her, but
I did.
I feel like she's very authentic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that just goes back to culture and finding, because you're signing an agreement, we kind of joke that it's similar to a marriage.
Right.
Nobody wants to get into a bad marriage. Nobody wants to get into a bad partnership with the franchisor. And it should be a partnership from the perspective that you're respectful of each other and trust each other. So it's really good to know. And y'all had asked earlier about the podcast and how we use it. And I had answered that when we interview these founders, which Angie, who's the founder of Recoat Revolution, was on several episodes ago, it helps us get to know the culture better so that we can do a better job in making matches when we're doing our work. So
well, we had I don't know if it was a franchisor or a franchisee, but somebody kind of joked and said, a lot of franchise agreements are 10 years, and that's longer than a lot of marriages actually last. So, it is a long-term relationship. So,
exactly.
So one thing that another franchisee and I were talking about, and just their experience with their brand, especially coming from corporate America, depending on where you're at in that structure, you're used to serving a CEO or some sort of executive. That is not the relationship here. So I think that's kind of important to know too. This person is not your boss.
Right.
You have a contractual relationship with the organization or with the franchisor if it's an individual, and just kind of keeping that in mind helps you reframe around how we're going to interact together so that everyone can be successful.
Yeah.
But it's also nice when they're there for you.
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock at night when I'm laying on the floor and I can't get a color, I can text Nicholas or Thomas, and man, or Steve, and they'll get right back to me. Try this, So
like going back to what made being an early franchisee appealing to us. One of the reasons was, being early, we felt like there would be a lot more mutual interest in helping each other succeed.
Yes.
And that was important in our decision making too. So, Angie Lauer and the Recoat Revolution franchisor has been so supportive of our success because that helps them grow the brand too.
Yep.
So.
Well, and you don't get that close relationship with the founder once it's bigger. It can't be that. It's impossible because now that founder has had to take on different roles because, and you've got direct reports handling a lot of things that she's handling now. So it's just not everybody's going to be the early in person like that, but for the right person, it's a great opportunity.
Right.
So if someone wanted your services, they wanted their floors redone, how would they reach out to you? How would they get a hold of you?
They can call us at 817-471-6892, and I'll probably answer the phone. And if I don't, just leave a message with Katie, and we'll get back to you. We'll come out and visit your home free of charge, and we will do an estimate that we stand behind. If we come to your home and we give you an estimate, and then we get out there on job day and we find out there's a little more work than we thought under that rug, we're going to tell you it's going to take us a little longer, but your bill's not going to change at the end. We're going to walk away from your home with you completely satisfied, and we will do the best job we can. But if we can't help you, we're going to be honest and tell you.
Awesome.
It might be outside of our scope.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing about it is that we want to help you save time, save money, but be able to look at your floors and be happy with them again.
I've seen the before and after, so it's
pretty crazy.
I love what
Pretty
you guys are
impressive.
doing.
And it's not just, you mentioned home, but you do commercial also.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we do commercial, and because of our process, we have to clean the floors as clean as they could be before we recoat them. So we own all the equipment to clean hard surfaces. So some of the stuff that we do is we clean some doctors' offices, some restaurants, that sort of thing. So tile. We do tile. That's the one thing about our return to service. When we went down to St. Louis, we went into an Irish bar that closed the night before. They came in the morning. They were open that night, and they did their floors.
Wow!
And we were just blown away. You know, I mean, they I think had fried chicken that night in the place. So for a business that, you know, is open 7 days a week, we might be able to be their only choice to fix their floors, you know, to give them some new life, brighten them back up.
Without them having to lose business and shut their door.
Because if you take out those floors, you're down for a week, 10 days, you know, sometimes longer.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming in and joining us today and sharing your story with us. I know you're busy and
thanks for having
you have got floors to lay on. So for those of you listening, thank you for listening in and to hear Joe and Jennifer's story. If you would like to learn more about franchising or connect with Sara or me, Roxanne, please see the links in the description below. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.